Your Father. The Empire Strikes Back wasn't just a space opera sequel, it was a production nightmare that nearly destroyed careers, bankrupted George Lucas, and featured more on-set chaos than most war films. From fire-ravaged sets to actor feuds that erupted between takes, from life-threatening stunts to budget crises that had bank executives storming the sound stages, the making of cinema's greatest sequel was anything but smooth.
Your destiny lies with me, Skywalker.
What you're about to discover are 20 weird, shocking, and downright unbelievable facts about how the most beloved Star Wars film almost never made it to theaters. We'll reveal the secret that only 3 people knew during filming, the injury that changed Mark Hamill's face forever, and the moment Harrison Ford nearly quit the franchise entirely. Plus, stick around for our bonus fact about the most expensive burp in movie history. Ready to discover the Empire's darkest secrets? Let's dive in. The Wampa attack was written to hide Mark Hamill's real injuries. Mark Hamill's face looked different in Empire Strikes Back, and fans noticed. What they didn't know was that between filming A New Hope and Empire, Hamill had suffered a devastating car accident that required reconstructive surgery. The opening Wampa attack scene wasn't originally planned. It was hastily written to explain why Luke's face appeared scarred and different. Lucas told Hamill that, had he died, his character would have been replaced, not recast. The brutal mauling by the ice creature provided perfect cover for Hamill's altered appearance, turning a real-world tragedy into compelling storytelling. What audiences saw as Luke's first brush with death was actually covering up the actor's very real brush with mortality. David Prowse had no idea he was Luke's father. The most shocking twist in cinema history was kept secret from the man inside the Vader suit. David Prowse said, "No, Obi-Wan killed your father," during filming, delivering completely different dialogue while Mark Hamill reacted to words only he could hear. Hamill was told only the night before filming. Renowned leaker Dave Prowse in the Vader suit couldn't be trusted at all and was deliberately sidetracked by a bogus alternative.
I'll never join you!
If you only knew the power.
Even James Earl Jones, who dubbed Vader's voice, wasn't told the real line until post-production. When Prowse finally saw the film at its premiere, he was as shocked as everyone else in the theater. Stanley Kubrick's The Shining nearly destroyed Empire's budget. A catastrophic fire erupted on Elstree Studios Stage 3, where Kubrick was filming The Shining. The impact was significant, resulting in the Empire production being forced to give up 2 stages so The Shining could continue filming. 64 sets had to be moved through 9 stages, and the filming schedule had to be altered. This wasn't just an inconvenience, it was a financial disaster. The fire ended up forcing the Empire budget to increase from $18.5 million to $22 million. Lucas Aitkoff watched helplessly as his carefully planned production crumbled, all because of another director's horror masterpiece literally going up in flames. Harrison Ford was frozen in carbonite because he might quit. Han Solo's iconic carbonite fate wasn't a storytelling choice, it was insurance. Unlike Mark Hamill, who played Luke, and Carrie Fisher, who played Leia, Ford was only contractually obligated to be in one Star Wars sequel. His rising star power after Raiders of the Lost Ark made his return uncertain.
What's going on, buddy? You're being put into carbon freeze.
Ford was also unsure if he even wanted to return to the franchise. His role in Star Wars made him a huge name in Hollywood. His interest in exploring other roles, as well as his new starring role in the Indiana Jones movies, meant Ford was seriously considering letting Han Solo remain in the carbonite forever. Lucas needed Han alive but removable. Carbonite was the perfect solution. Frank Oz brought Miss Piggy to set during a mental breakdown. During one particularly brutal day of filming the Dagobah scenes, Mark Hamill was having an emotional breakdown. The technical demands of acting opposite a puppet while hanging from wires had pushed him to his limit. One difficult day, when Hamill solemnly told Yoda, "I followed my feelings," Oz suddenly and incongruously popped Miss Piggy into the scene decked out in lavender gown and gloves.
I'm not looking for a friend. I'm looking for a Jedi Master.
Feelings. You want to know about feelings? Get behind this couch and I'll show you feelings, you little runt, squealed Miss Piggy. Where the hell is this? Get my agent on the phone. I've been booked in dumps before, but nothing like this. The crew burst into laughter and Hamill finally cracked a smile. Sometimes salvation comes in the form of a felt pig. George Lucas nearly lost the entire film to his bank. By mid-July 1979, production had run out of money. Bank of America refused to increase the loan. The crisis was kept from the crew, including Kirshner, and tactics were used to delay its impact, including paying staff bi-weekly instead of weekly, and Lucas borrowing money from his merchandising company Black Falcon.
Also, look around. The stuff's still flying in the air. It just disintegrated. Wham!
Lucas worried he would have to sell Empire and its associated rights to Fox to sustain the project, losing his creative freedom. The man who created the galaxy far, far away was on the verge of losing it all. Only creative accounting and desperate financial maneuvering kept the cameras rolling. The "I know" line happened after hours of failed takes. The most romantic moment in Star Wars history was born from exhaustion and frustration. We tried it again and again with different lines, and finally Harrison says, "I give up. I don't know what the hell to say." Finally, Harrison says, "Let's do it one more time, and that's it." So she says, "I love you," and he replies, "I know."
I love you.
I know.
But there's controversy around this legendary moment. Different evidence suggests it was what Ford wanted to do, "I know," all along, planned well before cameras rolled. Whether improvised or premeditated, those two words became the most Han Solo response imaginable. Peter Mayhew nearly died. Filming the torture scene, Chewbacca actor Peter Mayhew collapsed during Han's torture sequence when the temperature soared. Mayhew fell ill while filming Han's torture scene because the set used bursts of steam, which raised the ambient temperature to 90 degrees Fahrenheit, 32 degrees Celsius, while he was wearing a wool suit. 7 feet of wool costume plus steam effects nearly created a medical emergency. The production was already behind schedule and over budget, but they had to stop filming to prevent their beloved Wookiee from overheating. It wasn't the Empire that nearly killed Chewbacca, it was the costume department. Mark Hamill performed his most dangerous stunt after losing a hand. During the lightsaber duel with Vader, Hamill was suspended on a platform suspended 35 feet, 11 meters, above a pile of mattresses while filming one of cinema's most emotional scenes. But the real danger came from the narrow walkways. Hamill described the most terrifying stunt as walking along the 9-inch wide platform to evade Vader.
Our combined strength, we can end this destructive conflict and bring all...
He fell only once but was able to roll on landing to avoid harm. He accidentally fell from a 9-inch ledge 40 feet, 12 meters, high but rolled on landing to avoid injury. This wasn't movie magic. This was a real actor in real danger, performing stunts that would make modern insurance companies weep. The asteroid worm's voice was a man's burp. The terrifying roar of the space slug that nearly devoured the Millennium Falcon came from the most mundane source imaginable. Howie Hammerman's burps were recorded for the slug's voice, that's right. One of cinema's most memorable creature sounds was literally a sound engineer belching into a microphone. go ahead and like and subscribe because we're about to reveal how a single puppeteer's mistake created Star Wars' most expensive special effect, and trust me, you won't believe what happens next. Alec Guinness earned millions for 4.5 hours of work. Obi-Wan is played by Alec Guinness, and Guinness wasn't on the set for long. He filmed his scenes on the final day of production. He turned up at 8:30 a.m. and was finished by 1 p.m. For 4.5 hours work, Guinness was paid 0.25% of the film's gross, which ended up being worth millions.
When you will be tempted by the dark side of the Force.
Yes, yes.
While the rest of the cast endured months of grueling production, Guinness waltzed in, delivered his ethereal performance, and walked away with a paycheck that dwarfed everyone else's. It was the ultimate ghost story, literally. Women soldiers showed off their nail polish in the trenches. According to Alan Tompkins, who was nominated for an Academy Award as the art director for The Empire Strikes Back, several women played rebel troopers in the trenches and snow-covered plains for the Battle of Hoth. Personal photos taken by Tompkins show several extras showing off their nail polish in between takes. Even in the far reaches of the galaxy, fashion found a way. These behind-the-scenes photos reveal a delightful glimpse of humanity beneath the helmets, where rebel soldiers maintained their personal style even while fighting the Empire. The Norway crew survived the worst snowstorm in 100 years. Opening on the planet of Hoth, the first act of Empire was filmed in Finse, a mountain village in Norway. There were some major issues when the area was hit by its biggest snowstorm in 100 years. What should have been 3 weeks of filming stretched to 8, with crew members literally snowed in. The second unit, scheduled to be in Finse for 3 weeks, was there for 8. When the crew returned to London, they had only half the planned footage, and background images for special effects shots were uneven. Mother Nature herself tried to stop the Empire from striking back. George Lucas fired his cinematographer for calling him incompetent. The pressure of production got to everyone, including the man behind the camera. During production, when the budget started becoming a big issue, Peter Suschitzky complained loudly about Lucas's decisions. The cinematographer publicly questioned Lucas's competence, creating tension that reverberated through the entire crew. Lucas had specifically chosen Suschitzky after their previous cinematographer on A New Hope had been difficult to work with. When Suschitzky turned critical during Empire's production, it created a devastating blow to morale during an already troubled shoot. Harrison Ford and Carrie Fisher had a heated argument before their love scene. Harrison Ford and Carrie Fisher had a heated argument on the day of filming, but director Irvin Kershner was able to resolve the tension and bring the cast together to deliver the emotional moment of Leia and Han saying goodbye. The carbon freeze sequence required intense emotions, and the real-life tension fed directly into their performances.
Come on.
You're imagining things.
Am I? Then why are you following me?
Professional jealousy is very healthy, incidentally, and natural, but it was his scene, Kershner later revealed. What could have derailed the film's most important emotional moment instead elevated it, proving that sometimes the best art comes from conflict. The Space Slug set was designed like hell itself. Producer Robert Watts noted the irony in the set's name, who would later say, "I think the words freezing chamber are completely wrong because it was like a sweaty jungle." The carbon freezing chamber set was sweltering, despite being meant to represent a freezing process. A larger scale interior of the creature was made with a mechanized jaw to detail the Falcon's escape from its innards. The space slug's throat was one of the most complex practical effects ever attempted, requiring perfect timing between multiple puppeteers and the model Millennium Falcon. Bank of America representatives invaded the set, Bank of America representatives visited the set in late March, concerned about rising costs. Picture this: Hollywood executives in suits, wandering around Dagobah's swamp, questioning every expense while Yoda dispensed wisdom nearby. The financial reality of movie making crashed directly into the fantasy world being created. These weren't friendly visits. The bank was genuinely concerned about their investment, and their presence on set created additional pressure on an already stressed production. Even Jedi Masters couldn't force away money problems. Norwegian mountain rescue skiers played rebel soldiers. The extras in this scene, all the troops essentially, were played by Norwegian mountain rescue skiers. And for their participation in the film, Lucas made a donation to the Norwegian Red Cross. The Hoth battle sequences weren't just movie magic. They featured real rescue professionals who knew how to handle extreme conditions. These weren't actors pretending to be tough. They were genuinely tough people who spent their lives saving others in harsh mountain conditions. Their authentic movement and presence in the snow gave the Hoth scenes their visceral realism. John Williams stole the Imperial March from a funeral song. The most famous new piece for Empire is probably the Imperial March, used as Vader and the Empire's theme music, and Williams took inspiration for it from a very famous classical composer. The 19th century Polish composer Frédéric Chopin composed a funeral march, and Williams borrowed the melody for the Imperial March. The most iconic villain theme in cinema history was built on a foundation of death and mourning. Williams transformed Chopin's funeral dirge into the sound of galactic oppression, creating a musical connection between death and the dark side that audiences felt instinctively. The film nearly collapsed because of Yoda's design. That was like a real leap, because if that puppet had not worked, the whole film would have been down the tubes. It just would have been a disaster if it had been this silly little Muppet. If it had been Kermit running around in that movie, the whole movie would have collapsed under the weight of it. George Lucas put the entire film's credibility on a 2-foot puppet operated by a Muppeteer. One wrong move, one moment where audiences laughed instead of believed, and the most philosophical Star Wars film would have become a comedy. The line between profound and ridiculous was thinner than Yoda's lightsaber blade. Bonus fact: the Space Slug was devised by conceptual designer Ralph McQuarrie with the effects achieved practically by industrial light and magic. The sequence used a puppet designed by Phil Tippett and operated by John Berg, in addition to a large model of the creature's jaws, which was built largely by chief model maker Lorne Peterson for the shot where our heroes escape in the Millennium Falcon. The large jaw section measured over 4 feet wide and contained a number of teeth.
I am your father. Your destiny lies with me, Skywalker.
This tooth was created during the production and is cast in ivory-colored resin. Ultimately unused on the model, the tooth was gifted to special effects supervisor Brian Johnson by Phil Tippett and Lorne Peterson after they had finished filming the shot. A single unused space slug tooth created for a creature that appeared for less than 2 minutes cost more to produce than most people's cars. It represents the obsessive attention to detail that made Empire great and nearly bankrupted its creator.
Our combined strength, we can end.
You're imagining things.
Am I? Then why are you following me?
The Empire Strikes Back proved that the most beloved films often emerge from the most chaotic productions. Every frame of the finished masterpiece masks a story of financial ruin, creative conflict, and human perseverance. Lucas nearly lost everything to create the film that would define his legacy, proving that sometimes the greatest victories come from the darkest moments. What other behind-the-scenes secrets would you like us to uncover? Drop a comment below and hit that subscribe button, because in this galaxy of movie trivia, the Force is definitely with us.